It's your girl Sierra. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Yeah. Okay. So another commenter requested a Derek deep dive. And this is like, I feel like this is gonna be like the shortest deep dive ever, in my opinion, because Derek is a very he's a character that went to the black hole. So this probably will be probably the shortest deep dive I'll ever do. But let's go ahead and get started. So who is Derek Haig? Derek Haig is introduced in season 5. His first episode is Total Eclipse of the Heart, where he's talking to Liberty about her giving her baby up for adoption and doing the baby box. And he's adopted. He's Danny's best friend slash former best friend. Their friendship ends pretty much. And he's an athlete. That's all we know about Derek. So moving on to his actual storyline. So outside of his first episode, we really see Derek in season 5 episode Death of a Disco Dancer, where Jimmy is the basketball coach and Derek judges him because Jimmy's in a wheelchair now. He's like, oh, a cripple is not going to teach us how to play basketball. Whatever, Derek. And so he really didn't think that Jimmy would be a good coach, but Jimmy proves him wrong in the game of horse. And Derek promises to credit him as his coach and not the guy who got shot. So very semi-innocent beginning, because, you know, obviously people judge people all the time, and him judging Jimmy for being in a wheelchair versus the legacy of Jimmy Brooks being a damn good basketball player. I mean, he was literally the captain for 3 years straight. But yeah, now that he is in a wheelchair, you're like, oh, he's a cripple. Dude, you haven't even been captain once. How about we start there? Okay. Moving on to Turned Out Part 1. He goes on a date with Emma. And as annoying as Emma is, I'm kind of glad that she nipped that in the bud quick. She was being very annoying with how she was talking and how she was just staring at him. I will say, goddamn, I forgot the actress's name. But the person who plays Emma, that death stare that not even a death stare, but just the very blank face that she gave Derek when she was like, I'm a vegetarian. I was just like, I feel like I should hide away or something. I was just like, ooh, okay. That was just kind of, that was rude. But yeah, I'm glad that she didn't continue on the date, even though that does suck how she went about it. That was just rude. I added that. I wrote down the notes about him being at Liberty's house asking for the baby underneath Turned Out, when that was actually Total Eclipse of the Heart. That's my bad. That was me writing my notes. Also, sometimes the Degrassi Wikipedia fandom page is completely wrong. So moving on to the next thing that I had to fix when I was rewatching it and looking at the notes. I was like, y'all got the wrong episode, which is season 6, episode Crazy Little Thing Called Love. They labeled it as Eyes Without Face, which is actually Darcy's episodes. Yeah, see, this is why I double check my stuff. Sometimes I forget to, but this is why I was like, I feel like those were Darcy's episodes. I don't feel like Derek was in there. So yeah. In that episode, Derek and Danny are running in the hallway. They run into Mr. Perino, and they knock his coffee out of his hand, breaking the mug, coffee all over his shoes and shirt. Perino's pissed and yells at them for yelling in the hall. And Mr. Simpson overhears and just tells them that, kids are stupid, but kids make mistakes. And he tells them to go get the mop and clean everything up. Mr. Perino's still pissed. He doesn't. Mr. Perino, as a teacher, he's very much a hard A. He's very crude, very rude, and very aggressive. And we never learn about Mr. Perino's background, which obviously because he's a teacher, but we don't know anything about Mr. Perino at all, to be quite honest. Even in Degrassi Junior High, we learned a little bit about Coach Armstrong. We got a little bit of a background with him. I think it was him, or was it the other teacher that people thought was moving on to, that was being really creepy with Lucy. Was it Coach Armstrong or was it somebody else? I can't remember. It's been a long time. But we at least got that. But with Perino, we're introduced to him through this season, through Degrassi. So we don't really know if he's always been like that. If he has never been a teacher in Degrassi Junior High, I don't know if he was a teacher in Degrassi High, but this is who Mr. Perino is, and this is who we get for the next like 30 plus years, because he's still there. He doesn't leave. And so when Danny gives his presentation in class, Perino accuses him of plagiarizing. Derek asks why Perino's being so mean, and Perino demands both of them to redo the projects. And so after school, Mr. Perino is at the bus stop, and Derek is just trying to talk to him, but Perino is still amplified, pissed, and he threatens Derek to respect him, which I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, really? See, that's my thing about respect. You can't demand it from somebody, especially as a teacher. If you're going to be crude and rude like that, no. You don't deserve respect, because you're not even being respectful yourself. You're being very rude about it. You're being very aggressive, and there's a power dynamic. If you're doing it like that, you don't deserve any respect. And whatever comes at you you deserve it to come at you. Like, there's a difference between like going through it as a teacher, you're struggling, going through some stuff like Miss O was with Spinner. I feel like that's different. Perino was just targeting Derek like for nothing. It's not like Derek literally ran up to him and shoved him to the ground and be like, oops, Mr. Perino, sorry I broke your coffee. He immediately, when they bump into him, they're like, oh, sorry. Because first of all, you shouldn't be running in the halls anyway. But there is no reason to give that kind of reaction towards Derek. And Derek is not even doing anything. Like, this is the most mildest version of Derek that we have, and yet Perino is treating him as if he's Jay or Sean. Like, I'm so confused, because Derek wasn't really doing anything. And so after Perino threatens him, Derek's scared, because I'd be too. Your teacher is threatening you to respect him, and you don't even do nothing. Like, I understand if you did something, like if, you know, trashed his car, keyed his car. Like, even when Casey did that to Armstrong, Armstrong didn't snap either. Like, I'm not understanding Perino. I'm not understanding him. And this version of Derek that we have is just very timid and scared, because your teacher is attacking you. And so when Perino tells Derek to forget what happened, Derek and Danny do the presentations, and they're like, good job, boys. Yeah. Trying to make up for the fact that he threatened Derek on school property, mind you. It's still school property. Like, also, a grown adult doing that? Ugh, gross. Just disrespectful. But then when another student is about to go for a presentation, Perino berates him, was like, oh, you didn't do it? Like, oh, let's see who finished their project and wasn't staying up all night playing video games and staring at corn pictures or whatever. And it's like, oh, I'll get everybody zeros, blah, 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 blah. Derek's like, you know what? I had enough of your mess. He grabs his bag and he goes to tell Simpson all about what happened with Perino threatening him. And Perino doesn't get fired, but he does get a swift talking to from Miss Hasalakos. I feel like Miss Hasalakos was a little bit too lenient as a principal for me. Like, I needed her to be a little bit more of a hard ass, especially in this situation, because ain't no way a teacher is going to be threatening a student. For what? Because Derek gives his side of the story. So, like, literally, if I hear from the student side of the story and he looks obviously terrified, you doing this out of pocket. Maybe you need to go to therapy. What is going on in your house? Like, I wonder if Mr. Perino has kids. Because if he does, I know those kids hated him. Okay? Or maybe he's getting divorced. Maybe his wife is cheating on him. We don't know. But Mr. Perino, as a character, he's just so, I don't like him. Oh, so there was, in the blurb on the Degrassi Wikipedia fandom page, I don't know who wrote it, and whoever wrote it, rude. They wrote on there that Derek and Danny were partially at fault for JT's death. I'm like, how? I'm so confused. And they made it to seem like, oh, well, they, you know, were talking about the party and other people heard about the party, and then subsequently, somehow, some way, Lakehurst kids heard about the party. That is not Derek's fault, okay? It's not Derek's fault. That's not anybody's fault. If anything, it's Lakehurst's fault. Why would you be at a party Why would you go to a party that's not even your party? First of all, you wanted to do it because you want to antagonize people. You want them to be afraid of you. And then all of a sudden, here goes the crazy psychopath who stabbed JT. Clearly, he needed to be in a mental institution. You had Johnny over here not doing a darn thing about it to stop him from doing it. Like, that is not Derek's fault. If anything, it's the crazy psycho who stabbed JT's fault. Why would you go to the party? Why? You wanted to start some mess. You wanted to start some mess, and then when you're outside peeing on somebody's car because you want somebody to come out and start some mess because you wanted to hurt them. He had a whole freaking knife. That is not Derek's fault. So whoever wrote that, shame on you. That is not Derek's fault. That is that psychopath's fault for even going to that party. That dude, I don't know if he just went straight to jail, but he don't need to be on the streets. But that's not Derek's fault. I did not like that whatsoever. Moving on to season 7. And the episode got my mind set on you. A cute girl. Did I say that correctly? Yes. A cute girl named Rachel gets added to Derek and Danny's for Danny's group for a group project. And both are into her, and they compete to see who should ask her out first. Derek wins the competition. He asks her out first, and Rachel's like, nah, no thanks. But then Rachel asks out Danny, and they go out. And then the next day, Derek is like, nah, we gotta cut her out of the group because she's not into me, which is really stupid, but whatever. And when he finds out that Danny and Rachel went out and he sees that Danny got a hickey from her, he's pissed. So when they go to the mall to do their how-to video, Derek's still pissed. And so to get back at Danny, he slides some of the underwear into his backpack. And the thing is that the store that they're doing this video at, the manager is extremely racist. And so when Danny gets ready to leave with Rachel, she stops him and she's like, let me check your bag. I'm like, oh my God, I can't. I can't. And he's like, I don't know why you're looking there. And then she's like, ooh, look at that, the underwear. And so Danny's completely freaked out and scared, because rightfully so. Yeah, I'd be too. He tells Rachel to book it. So they just run away. And Rachel's like, well, you didn't want to stay to talk to the police and handle the situation. Mind you, Rachel is a light-skinned girl. She looked like she mixed, okay? She was giving me like Rachel Dolezal. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She was giving me that, but not saying that she is, but she was just giving that because of how she looked. That's just how the actress looked to me. She doesn't understand what it's like to be someone who is of darker complexion, who is obviously Black, and the racism and discrimination that we face just walking into a freaking store. And then dealing with the police. Oh, that was not going to end well. It was going to end as good as, what's his name? Dallas's situation at the mall with Connor. Like, that's as best as, like, to be quite honest, when it comes to Degrassi, they weren't going to go like completely all the way that way, but that was going to probably be like the best case scenario, like what Dallas and Connor dealt with at the mall. Maybe for Danny, maybe, because if the police is involved, then Danny's gonna get his dad involved, and his dad's a lawyer, so then they really gonna be like, oh, like to seeing Danny's dark-skinned daddy show up in a suit, pissed because his son is being interrogated, and he's a lawyer. That's when they would probably like, straighten up, be like, oh snap, because that is a Black man of power, and he will get y'all butts fired. Okay. He'd be like, where's the footage? Did you see him do it? And then if they look back at the footage, they would have seen that it was Derek who did it. And yeah, his dad would have sued everybody there. Everybody would have been jobless. So I don't blame Danny for running, because like, you don't know how this situation is gonna go. If you get your dad involved too, and this gonna be a whole nother situation. He said, you know what, let's just go. But she didn't get it. She was like, why don't you just talk to the police? Girl, we don't have the same privileges. We just don't. So after that, Danny goes to just like talk to them, and Derek's like, ew, how did, does Rachel think that you're a loser because of this underwear? And then Danny's like, oh, that was you who did it? And so Danny's like, you know what? I'm done with you. Derek tries to fix it by making the how-to video about how to lose a friend by doing these dumb things and then hoping for forgiveness. They make up by the end of the episode slightly. I feel like Danny's just like, you got a long way to go. I'm like, I wouldn't be friends with him anymore after that. I'm sorry. It would not work out. Moving on to season 8, Fight the Power. Derek is tormenting Jane for joining the football team because she's a girl. He kicks her in the stomach. And the fact that he's even friends with Bruce should have told us this a long time ago. Okay. Johnny ditched Bruce a long time ago for a darn good reason. Okay. He already lost his friend because he in jail for stabbing JT. And now you're friends with another crazy dude who is over here kicking girls in the stomach. Well, this is, obviously, this was later on. He already had left for college by then. Yeah, he already had left for college by then. But still, Johnny needed to find some better taste and some friends. So I'm glad he went off to college so he could find some better suited people to hang out with, because I wouldn't want a friend like Bruce. If you over here pushing a girl down and attacking her for being a football player with you, you are a woman beater. He literally, Bruce, if we ever focused on Bruce as a character moving on, he would have been a Rick. And not even like in a Rick of, in the way of like being like, oh, I'm so sorry, like the aftermath of it, of like, you know, that love bombing apology stage. Bruce would have just been straight up a woman beater through and through and through, all the way through. There'll be no redeeming him. And there's still no redeeming him. But I'm just saying in general, the fact that Derek becomes friends with that should tell you everything. That's how Derek ends up becoming. And it's like, oh my God, y'all never gave this kid a chance. Y'all started off with him being a pretty decent character. And then, what is this? Just, oh my God. But Sav, Danny, and Riley, they get their acts together and convince her to stay. But Derek and Bruce are just, Jesus Christ. I can't stand how everything turned out. And then in Money for Nothing, Derek's being a jerk to Holly J, who was working, and Holly J dumps the smoothie over his head. Like I said, Derek just gets worse and worse. In Bad Medicine, Danny hooks Derek up with Leah despite him liking her first. During the date, Derek and Leah talk about Danny, and he gives Danny the permission to date Leah, even though what was I saying? He gives Danny the permission to date Leah, figuring out that they like each other. You'll see the clip, you know, it's very obvious. And it kind of mends their friendship a little bit, but not really, because even Danny is like very snappy. Like I'll tell you, I'll see what I can do about it. He's like, oh, Derek's like, oh, you want to hang out after school? Danny's like, I'm like, see, this is why you should have just cut him off a long time ago, because now this is getting awkward. This is like watching the friendship fall apart in like real time. Like y'all should have just nipped this in the bud a long time ago. After the mall situation, you should just cut him off, because it's very clear that Danny wants nothing to do with Derek. Yeah. And then in Heat of the Moment, Derek joins in on the I Hate Holly J chant. And then at the end of the episode, he makes a comment to Allie saying that he brought the rope. And the last scene, not even scene, because we don't even see him, but the last time we hear about him is in Up Where We Belong, where Derek gets called into the office, but we never see him again. So someone, I think it was on the Wikipedia fandom page, or was it on Reddit? I don't remember which one, but someone said that they think that he probably got expelled, which noted, I think so too. I think with the whole Shep situation, when everything came to head, when Jane stands up and says, like, you know why, obviously, I believe that after that, when the whole investigation goes down, I believe that Jane tells the person in charge that Claire was talking to, tells her about her situation, what happened, and I believe that Jane does say that it was Derek. But, you know, with the process of everything going through, they probably were investigating everybody, having all these conversations. But I think that time when they called Derek into the office, it was to expel him. Yeah. And noting that we all don't know what happens to him, but I have a pretty good idea that Derek does not end up being a good guy whatsoever. Nope. It would have been interesting to see him running in the same circles as Vince. That would have been interesting to see. I will say that. Let's jump into my thoughts. Let's just jump on into it. But yeah, that's just one of the things I'm now just thinking of. It would have been very interesting to see him in the Vince universe with the Drew and Bianca situation. It would have been very interesting to see him in there because, yeah, it is later on. He would have been a little bit older, but he still would have had the exact same mindset of how he ended up becoming. And if he's still friends with Bruce, he definitely would be associated with Vince, or at least that realm. Like Zig's friend, former friend, the other kid who was also, I can't remember if they mentioned if Zig was he Polish? I don't remember his background. I don't remember Zig's background, but I think his friend was of the same background as him, because when they went into the store, I believe the friend was speaking the same language as Zig's mom. So it would have been interesting to see Derek running in circles with him, or the kid being one of his, what's the word? I don't know gang activity. one of his people, like, that runs stuff or whatever, that steals and, sells stuff for him. Like, it would have been interesting if Derek was doing that, or like at least a mention, like even if the actor didn't come back, but at least mention like, oh yeah, I gotta go make this drop for Derek. I've been like, oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense as to where Derek ended up. But ultimately, concluding all of my thoughts, they just messed Derek up because he was just introduced as like he was goofy, he was dumb, like that's not shocking whatsoever, but they just completely ruined him as a character. I don't even know how that happened. Like, it came out of nowhere. It wasn't even like gradual, like with different situations. Like, it's not as if like he was online talking to, INCELSs or anything like that, or any type of people like that online. That would have been interesting to see, like, that kind of progression and seeing it in like seeing the actual progress. That would have been interesting. But he just went from being the cute kid who is just a little goofy, dumb, scared of his teacher, adopted kid that actually bonded with Liberty, to someone who kicks girls in the stomach because they're football players. Like, I'm so confused. How did we get here? It's mind-boggling to me, like, how bad. Like, I love Degrassi. I do. I know I rag on like these characters, I rag on the show sometimes, but I love Degrassi. But it's just so freaking frustrating and interesting at the exact same time to see how they completely destroy these characters in a blink of an eye. You're like, what happened? Either they go to the black hole, you get them like an introduction, and then they disappear, like with Chris, Kendra, but then you get characters like Derek who start off in a certain way, but they end up completely different with no progression, no discussion on the in-between and how we got here. And then he just disappears. So it's just like, I'm sorry, what happened? Yeah. I don't even have lessons learned because I just needed to like really like see, like put this together, because obviously also there was someone who commented saying that Derek was being bullied by a teacher, and I was like, who? I was like, I forgot about that. So putting that together too, and just seeing how Derek starts off and how he ends up, is so mind-blowing to me, and it makes me just like, oh god. it pisses me off a little bit. But that's all I have for this video. If you like this video, be sure to like it, comment below, what do you think about Derek's journey, what they could have done better, or where you would have seen his character's journey. Like, you fill in the blanks, because clearly these writers did not do that. Anyway, until next time, stay magical. Bye.